From recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex, I'm your host, Steve Urban, and here is your Riderflex Podcast episode of the day.
Yeah.
Becca Schepps on the Riderflex Podcast. How you doing this morning, Becca?
Good. I'm good. Yeah,
Are you in Boulder today?
I am. It looks sunny out from what I'm.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like 60 today, right? On February 2nd or something like that.
Yeah, and then Snow Friday. Perfect.
Right. Exactly. So, first of all, thank you so much for coming back to the show. You were an
Yeah, of
awesome
course.
guest the first time. Your energy is so contagious. I mean, I was listening to our first interview this morning. I'm on the treadmill. I'm just like moving around. I'm listening to your interview. I'm like, man, I feel good. I feel excited.
Yeah.
I've always loved your energy. So, for the listeners, let's do like a quick Becca Schepps personal overview. You know, your personal life or whatever, just something personal. You know, a little bit like a tad where you grew up, where you're at now, married,
Yeah.
cats, whatever.
Grew up in West Windsor, New Jersey, which is in central Jersey. People don't believe it exists, but it's its own place. It's not north and it's not south. Went to college in Wisconsin, Madison. Road crew there. Then last year I was there. I raced bikes. Really, 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 really liked racing bikes, and that kind of derailed my entire future. I basically that took me from I guess I was on a spring break trip racing like for bikes, and this was before iPhones. So basically, if you got a letter from your college that maybe they messed up and approved your your schedule, but you were graduation deficient, when you wouldn't find that out until you got back from spring break. So basically, I was allowed to graduate, but I wasn't allowed to commence, or vice versa. So I had to turn down this job that I was offered in June when I was supposed to graduate, and I had to stay the summer. But I was excited because I got to race bikes all summer, and that kind of took me from going into ad agency world, being an account person, to eventually then being a creative, because I kind of had a little more time to think about what I wanted to do when I grew up. So then I worked as a copywriter, creative director for about 12 years. And in my 12th year, basically, I was freelancing and coming up with puns. And that's when Mortal Kombucha came out.
Yeah, that little story about how I think you were freelancing, you were working for a client, and you were messing around on the side. You're like, oh, I don't know. You were just being creative, like coming up with stuff.
We were working on dessert packaging and going back and forth with their legal team, trying to say good for you when something really wasn't that good for you. And
that's right.
I was just holding a kombucha in my hand, totally frustrated, reading its label, and basically my frustration took itself out in a, entrepreneurial spirit. So.
And you sketched it out right there. Isn't it interesting how life turns left and right and certain doorways open? Like if you didn't enjoy the drink kombucha itself and you weren't holding it in your hand at that moment and it didn't like the drink, like none of this would have happened, right?
None of it. Yeah. I think I was also at that time my boyfriend, who's now my husband at the time, he was like, we were talking about getting married, and I told him I wanted it to be a surprise. So he was really trying to keep it a surprise. And he had already asked my family. So they were like egging me on, making me like really paranoid that he was never going to propose to me. And I was trying to start this like athleisure line and getting really nervous about order minimum. So there's all these factors that were like, I just needed an outlet for creativity. And because that's how when I'm doing things, I can like feel like forward momentum in my life. Because I was like, why isn't my boyfriend proposing to me? Why is my mom asking me these crazy questions? Like if he's ever going to, but they were just all trying to throw me off the scent. But yeah. And so basically it was like, oh, starting a drink company seems at the time cheaper than starting a clothing company. Basically because of the inventory you would have to hold with a clothing company was very scary to me.
Why don't you give us the 3-minute Mortal Kombucha overview as it stands today? Mortal Kombucha overview. Go for it. Give us the elevator pitch. Go for it.
So Mortal Kombucha is a kombucha brand that's just trying to prove that healthy stuff can be just as fun and entertaining as unhealthy stuff like sodas and things like that. So we're trying to take this super hippie drink that lots of people still have a big stigma to, maybe not so much in Boulder, but maybe in Kansas they do. And try to make something that seems just as appealing as your Mountain Dews, Rock Stars, and the sodas that you have fun drinking. And we do that with bright colors of our drinks, really easy to like understand flavors, and really bold branding and packaging, and a voice and message basically. So it's a big just brand play. Yeah.
It's mortalkombucha.com, by the way. And where can it be found? Talk to us about how I can purchase the product.
Yeah, so we are in Whole Foods in the entire Rocky Mountain region, which is Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Utah, New Mexico, and then we're also, I'm probably missing some states, but then we're also available on the West Coast, basically from LA all the way south down to Hawaii. So that also includes Arizona. And then we will be launching in the Pacific Northwest in mid-March. So you can find us at Whole Foods and natural grocers in that entire region. And then we are expanding to the East Coast now. So I'm not sure exactly when we're launching in some of the bigger stores or when this podcast is going to be out, but I know we are in a lot of local independent grocery stores, basically anywhere from DC up through Maine.
Well, when you launch in Jersey, right? That's a big deal. I mean, that's your home state. Right?
I basically told all of our brokers and salespeople, all I want to be is at the ShopRite on 571. That's like 15 minutes from my house. That's all I want, is that one store.
Yeah, that'll be
apparently you need to be in like 500 if you want to be in that one. So
okay, gotcha. Now, can you buy it on Amazon or yet, or what's your plans for that?
So for direct to consumer, you can buy it on our website. Right now we do charge shipping. We're hoping to be able to get a better fulfillment model and roll it out city by city, so that we can do basically larger cities like LA, Chicago, San Francisco, New York, we'll be able to do free.
Okay.
But right now it is at $25 shipping, but you can order it on our website and it'll get to you.
Any reason why you don't want to go down the Amazon path? What's your strategy there?
We are a cold, perishable glass beverage.
I see.
So we just don't at this point have the fulfillment or like ability to do it right now, or the volume to be able to use a fulfillment center. So that's a 2021, 2022 goal.
Gotcha. Okay, so your product it sets in the cooler. It doesn't set on the dry shelf.
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I think about your brand, and by the way, you just do such a great job with your marketing.
The new website's really exciting. Everybody should go to it and play.
Totally.
Guys called 1000% Studio, and they're amazing. And they probably hate me because when you work with a creative director and you're a creative director, I definitely drove them nuts, but how it turned out.
What's the name of the company again?
1000% Studio.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
There's so many things cool about the website. The way the mouse changes when you're moving around, the colors. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's exactly how I think about your brand, right? Like based on what I know of you and your brand, like when I go to the website, I'm like, oh yeah, this matches. This is exactly what Becca would do.
Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. Like we wanted to make it different. I love 90s culture, but I love, I wasn't a grunge kid, although I loved Kurt Cobain, but I was more like Santa Cruz skateboards and ska, I guess, and No Doubt, like the original albums. And I kind of just wanted to be this colorful Lisa Frank world, but a little harder.
Everything you do has, well, I don't know about everything, but most of what you do has a little bit of an edge. There's a little bit of a hard edge, right in anything you deliver. I wouldn't want to work on your marketing team, because you would just, I mean, anybody bringing you stuff, but they're probably like, when they bring it into the office, they're like, oh shit, is she gonna like this?
Yeah, no, I definitely have to write emails twice sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, it's really a cool marketing stuff. So I was going to ask you this question for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, great marketing, colors, impact, verbiage. I mean, the feel, the messaging, all that awesome. What's better about your drink? Talk to me about more specifically, like, why would I want to drink yours instead of the other 50 kombuchas on the shelf?
50, like 4 million. But I think we make it traditionally. So we are real kombucha, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
It's small batches, very consistent. Some of the so we have all those certifications of your non-GMO, organic, so we can say all those things. And then one of the bigger differences is our flavor profiles are just very easy to understand. So instead of being something that's like lavender, ginger root, ashwagandha, blah, 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 or something, and you're like, ooh, I bet this is good for me. What's it going to taste like? Super curious. We're just like margarita, watermelon mint. So it's, when I was developing the flavors originally, like 3 years ago, I would legit just go to Walmart and walk through the aisles and be like, okay, so these are probably your trending popular flavors. We can roll something out in a week, right? Because we're so small, we don't have to go through so much. So I'd be like, okay, watermelon's cool right now. We should make a watermelon flavor, so just trying to find those things that don't scare people. And then we do that with organic ingredients. Or, like with our margarita flavor, it's called Mark Simpson, and we turn it blue because basically that same idea, like walking through Walmart, I was like, what makes me want to try a drink? And it's like, look at the Gatorades. You don't say, I don't know what flavor blue is, right? But you just say like, I want blue. And we have our chill flower is purple. We color it with butterfly pea flower, but it's like, cool, it's purple. I'll try that. And then you can get away with doing a little less sugar because there is like a mind, you can see something and it will like look colorful so you can taste it sweeter.
Gotcha.
So it helps us that's how we stand out on shelf flavor wise. But I really do think when you're approached by those 200 brands like on the shelf, branding does a lot to just say, hey, this is going to be different.
No, there's no doubt about. I can't tell you how many times I'll buy something from the shelf strictly based on the label or the color or the impact that I have no idea. I'll be looking at something. There's 5 competitors sitting next to each other. I have no idea. Like, okay, I don't know.
Entire wine industry. Yeah.
Wine is exactly like that. I mean, I am not a wine connoisseur, but I like wine, right? So
you want to like the pretty bottles.
I just,
especially for under $10. Yeah.
I shit you not. That just happened to me. I was in the liquor store the other day and I thought about you, and I was walking down the wine aisle. I'm like, I'm going to get a Pinot. And I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing as usual. I know I like Pinot, but I don't know, like, I don't know which. And guess what? I grabbed the one off the shelf that had the label that I thought looked coolest.
Yeah. Because we get that question a lot. It's like, so why is yours different? And I always just say like, the label matters. And so
totally.
And I think, if you're a loyalist to a certain brand, you're going to be loyal to them. But our whole strategy is like, hey, that person who might be like kind of curious and they may be grabbing a matcha or a cold brew or some diet soda or seltzer, maybe they will go in here. So like, we don't need to like convert this kombucha drinker to us, because that's not doing anything for a grocery store in their category. But maybe we can get someone who would never grab it to just grab it.
Bingo.
And I think that you do through, you have to back it up through your flavor. And we are a kombucha, and we try to make sure that we're not super vinegary and we're really high on fruit without being high on sugar. But I think we can kind of pique interest with the label.
No doubt. And then you grab them with your social media, and then they're like, oh, cool. Not only is this a cool label,
like, what the hell?
And then this tastes good too. And then they check you on social media and they're like, oh, there's some cool stuff on here. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to like them. And then you just draw them right in. Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope that they'll just stay with us. Hopefully they don't think I'm lost my mind.
Well, but all that's part of the brand, right? I mean, just even if it's a little edgy, that's what I love about you. You're not afraid to take risks. I mean, how many times have you guys put out something on your social media, or you put out something and you like go to sleep at night going, oh man, was that too much? Was that over the edge?
I think that we play so from some other brands I follow. I think especially like through whatever's been going on in the world the last year, I think we've played it pretty safe in the memes.
By the way, I've had a bunch of guests on lately, and most of the time we talk about it after the recording stops.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what's your thoughts on, should companies and or CEOs, like, should they take sides on things and like blast out their opinion on, whatever, a social issue, political issue, whatever? Like, I guess
it's internal discussions about like, where do we want to say things? And I'm a woman founded Jewish person. My space laser is currently somewhere, I don't know, apparently I never got it, but So I don't think we want to back down. I personally, just in my life, like I'm not an activist, but I'm not very loud about things. So, like I have no problem saying, who I voted for, what I feel, or things like that. But I don't think that we poked super hard, but I think it's pretty apparent what we stand for. And we're a kombucha company. Like, I think it's pretty apparent. I mean, there's kombucha companies on both sides of the spectrum.
Right?
But
Right.
but like I don't think that our brand tone isn't to add drama, but I don't think we would back down if we wanted to make a stand. Like, when people
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're not gonna start a fight, but you're also not gonna run away from one.
I'll jump in. I'll throw one. Yeah.
It's a fascinating topic. I've talked to a bunch of CEOs. Some of them are like, "Hey, I don't even want to go there. I'm just trying to run my company. I'm trying to deliver a good product. I don't have time to no." And then other ones are like, "Oh, we should all speak out." I'm like, "Well, I don't."
I subscribe to the New York Times and I get the paper copy delivered to my house. So that's
tell us about the size. Give us an overview of how big the company is now. You were on the show, I think, a year ago or maybe more than that.
I think we're probably smaller but bigger. But yeah.
Well, give us I don't know what you want to share. Revenue, people, employees, clients, or SKUs, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So basically, during COVID, it hit during January of 2020. We were running production. So I had 4 production people. We would run production 2 or 3 times a week. And then one of my production guys was general manager and also was starting to do sales just in the Colorado kind of area.
Okay.
And we were doing production one day and I was like, oh my God, if we land this big account, because we were supposed to go into this very big retailer, I don't know what we are going to do. There is not enough time for how horribly inefficient our process is to ever make enough kombucha.
I think I remember you telling me that big grocer that you were about to sign.
Yeah. So basically we were like, I kind of was like, oh man, we got to move this over to we have to figure out either somewhere else to do this bigger, someone else needs to do this. And so I started scouring like, how are we going to get this done? And started the plans to move everything to a co-packer in April.
Okay.
And then while we were doing that, I was like, I want to launch a alcohol line. So started figuring that out in January. And then we officially launched it March 10th, which if you can think back to what March happened, like basically March 13th, I think last year.
Exactly.
It was like, we put out a press release, we launched alcohol, Whole Foods, natural grocers were going to stock it all. And then, boom. And then the partner who we were making it with had to shut down his brewery. And it was and then basically I knew we were still moving stuff over to the co-packer, but I felt bad because like I had to shut down early and tell my employees out of nowhere, like, hey, your jobs are gone. And I don't know if they're coming back because also I have this other news I haven't been able to share with you yet. And so it was, it sucked, but at the same time, it was super serendipitous because it was a time when people were buying milk and toilet paper and bleach. They weren't really like, let me like stock my fridge with a perishable organic beverage. So during that time of March and April, we basically could get rid of our rent, sold off every piece of equipment because we didn't need them anymore. And so I kind of had this like kind of lull, like 60-day lull where there was a very small amount of sales, but I could kind of reset. And be like, and sell everything with no overhead because there was no employees, no rent, nothing, just me.
Because you had moved it to the co-packer anyway, so you needed to do that pivot anyway. And this kind of slow time gave you time. I
thought we were going to be like balancing, like making kegs here, doing the co-packer over here, and it kind of was just like, whoa, restaurants were closed, there was no keg business, and it was just like, you know what? Let's just get rid of everything and we'll figure it out when the world opens up again. Because I was pretty adamant that we were going to be locked in all summer. So I guess my bet was pretty good.
Okay.
So, but it was still bad. So basically during that kind of reset time, I was like, okay, and what do I want to happen in the rest of 2020, 2021? Now that I'm not running around like my head cut off. And I was like, okay, here's the things I'm good at. Here's what I like to do. here's the things that I'm good at that I hate to do. Let's find someone, because I'm not bad at anything. No, I'm kidding. No, here's the things I'm really bad at. Let's find someone to do the things I'm bad at and hate to do, and the things I'm bad at, or things I hate to do that I can like kind of get through.
Yeah.
And I basically told every other founder, CEO my problem, and found this guy named Scott, brought him on as like an equity kind of partner.
Okay.
To help run operations and finance. And basically he has to do a lot of spreadsheets and modeling.
Okay.
And or take my wild ideas and activate them. And then with him and me being able to free up my mind of production logistics constantly, was able to bring on a salesperson now with a 3-person team. And then they brought on brokers for different regions that we wanted to expand into. So
were you able to fund those salespeople due to the cash infusion right there? Is that how you did that? Yep.
We for the first 3 years we operated off of revenue, so we still had the money to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically brought in all that, and then so that was all basically started in July after like interviewing back and forth, because if you're going to give part of your company away, you have to talk to someone for a while.
You got that right.
But yeah, so then basically from July, all the sales teams are working, the brokers. Scott was getting like the co-packer super dialed and understanding like all of our logistics. And then from there, we just started getting our presentations to buyers and grocery stores. Everything just became way more official. And basically I think we like tripled our store count from basically, it takes a little while to get into stores. So basically in October, I think we opened like 100 stores, and then it just kept going like that into the new year. And now like every month we're posting like our biggest.
Wow.
Like, since October, sales have just been like up 20%, up 20%, up 20%. So
very good.
Yeah, so it's been crazy.
You got a partner that invested, also took some of the functional aspects away, or grabbed some that you don't really like to be involved with, lets you focus on what you do better, got some more salespeople, boom, sales are up, love it. Launched some more product.
Yeah, because it was for the first 3 years, like we couldn't even sample to a new store half the time because we didn't have enough product. And then like with these big accounts, especially if you're trying to leave your home little area, it's who it definitely is like I don't know if it's like a boys club, but it's definitely like an old souls club of like, this guy knows this girl knows, whoever. And when you have those brokers and sales teams with established relationships, the doors start opening, and then you just have to like not mess up.
So how many employees right now today?
Just 3, because everyone else is contracted. So
but total, if you counted your 1099s plus W2, what's your team look like?
7.
Okay. And then you have the co-packer, which is like kind of a separate little team that,
Yeah. And we have a great relationship with them, and they're in Colorado, and I feel like they're a family, which is very nice after you speak to other consumer packaged good brands that have co-packers, and they'll tell you all these warnings. And we're like, ours like is great. We can just like call them on the phone, pop in. Yeah.
Now the partner you took on, now before that, you were 100% owner on the cap table, right? Because you didn't have any like co-founders, you didn't take on any early cash or anything like that.
Yeah. So he has vesting equity over like 4 years. So, and a salary. So.
I bet you spent some legal money to make sure that those papers were drawn up. There was to protect you, right?
Just signed them. Fingers crossed. Hope it works. Don't screw me over.
Is this now? This wasn't a friend, right? This was a new acquaintance.
Yeah, it was a recommended from a friend or from Ian actually McGregor.
Great, Ian McGregor, our friend over at Scratch Labs.
He's hyper logical.
Did you tell Ian, like, if this doesn't work out, I will kill you?
I have said since then, thank you so much. I think you saved my life.
That's so I'm so glad it's working out. Right.
We're definitely like yin and yang, complete opposite personalities.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
But it's nice because like I like to call them creative solutions. Like he'll come back and be like, okay, this is the reality of this, and I won't like the reality. So I'll be like, well, what if? And he's just like, okay, yeah. Like he never says like, no, that's crazy or illegal or whatever, he'll like run the numbers, present back, my harebrained idea of how to solve a problem, which is really cool. Cause I think I definitely will see problems and solutions differently than his background's in accounting, but then he can present me the thing that you need to actually make something work
What's the
rather
biggest
than
piece?
just throwing stuff at a wall.
Right. Oh, totally. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody thinking of taking on a large equity holder that owns the company? You know, they're 100% owner and they're
Yeah.
in your same shoes. What would you tell them?
Ian kept asking me, he kept being like, are you sure that you're someone who can have a partner? I was like, I don't know what you're judging me for. But I think you have to be able to let go, and you have to believe that they want, and you have to know, like after you interview them and you say, okay, they want this as much as I do, because that they're going to work as hard as you are, and you have to let them catch up. I guess that, because that was big. It was like, like I've been living this for 3 years. I know every acronym and I have processes, especially for someone like me, like creative side. Like if you asked me, like my husband would be like, hey, do you know where all the kegs are? Like who has them? And I'd be like, yeah. And he's like, where's the list? Because I just want to itemize things. And I'd be like, it's in my head. And, so then having to basically download all the processes, even just how to create a purchase order or how to create an invoice and all the little things.
Yeah.
There was no written instructions for how to do that. And so when they were messed up or there was a mistake, giving, not that that person's a screw up, but being like, we just need, there's going to be like 3 months of stickiness where I think something should be assumed, but it's not.
It forced you to get your processes and policies and things like that written, in writing and so forth, which by the way, as you already know, if there's ever some M&A or whatever, or somebody wants to buy you down the road, all that just makes you more valuable, right? It makes you more attractive.
Yeah. And that was the best. Like we spent so many hours before he, started working, just going through like, okay, how does this day work? How does this work, so that he could understand it. And he's so much more like an Ian, process oriented, this versus that. Even like, hey, it was just the two of us. Hey, let's create an organizational chart. And I'm like, you, me, put all the jobs. And he's like, no, but like, let's do this. And we can put our names in all the spots. But if we grew this to be for 3 years, what is the organizational chart? And we'll start as we need them. We can take our names out and put in an employee. And I'm like, oh, you do that. I hate this. but I like thinking about it because it does let you see that future a little better.
Right.
And more clearly. But it was very nice to be able to put that and be like, oh yeah, like I guess these are all my jobs and it would be good to get rid of this one. And that's when we were able to bring back one of my production employees who I liked, who was trying to transition to the sales, and plug him in. And then now he knows who he reports to. And so there's process and there's not confusion of me just like sending someone 20 text messages and they have to figure it out.
I think partnering with somebody that balances your skill set and you guys can help each other on your strengths and weaknesses. I mean, that is a really great move. Great move.
It's great.
What's the plan for the future? I mean, are you just having fun building this? Is it a lifestyle brand? Like, hey, I'm building it and it's allowing me to live the life I want to live? Or is there like a whiteboarded out, here's our grand plan with what we get to hear, we're going to sell it? Like, talk to me.
There is a whiteboard. No, there's a whiteboard for sure. No, I want to grow it. I want to sell it. I would, grow it to sell or acquired.
Okay.
Right now we're building a kombucha brand. I would like in the next year to be able to be a drink or like innovation brand. Definitely. Where, we're like, okay, first we tackled kombucha and we tried to make kombucha more palatable and more fun. And what would we do next? So it's like, whether that means that you're taking unhealthy food and you're making them healthy, or you're taking super healthy things and making them more appealing to the, that unhealthy kind of fun, and I think that and I don't know if we would stay in fermented foods but I think you stay in that functional, natural channel.
How about wine? How about wine? I can't think of any fun wine brands.
I feel like there's a lot of fun wine brands now.
Oh, are there? Matt,
yeah, the canned ones. The guy go down the canned
Oh,
wine.
I see.
Canned cocktails, and we have an alcohol now. So, but I think we can only make beer. So maybe we'll do a seltzer, hard seltzer. I don't know, but I would like it to be like an innovation kind of food brand and not be pigeonholed into kombucha. But I mean, as much as I love kombucha.
If you sell it though, so here's what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen, right? you're going to sell it, and they're going to be like, okay, Becca, you're going to have this ride along, I guess what they call ride alongs, right? Like now you got to
Yeah.
work. We want you to stay for 2 years. And
Okay.
then all of a sudden you have like a boss and
Yeah.
you're like having to work for this bigger company. And then I can just almost visualize Becca going, oh yeah, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. I don't know if I like this.
Well, I'm the boss. I'm the CEO, so I'm still the boss. No, like I people definitely, as we've just been doing some fundraising, have asked like, oh, do you want to be CEO still? Like as you grow, like
Right.
anywhere in the near future, yes. But like, and I think that as you've looked at other brands, and oftentimes the founders will kind of move into like an incubator kind of innovation incubator or something like that. And that's super appealing. I mean,
Okay.
am I the creative director of brand, for it? I think there's lots of roles that I would totally love. And it's that same thing where like, if I'm a $100 million brand, like, oh my God, that would be amazing. I don't know if I am the right person to be your CEO anymore. That's a different company, but should I be running the chief creative officer of the brand? Probably. I could do that. So I don't know. And then I don't know what that looks like. Also, I feel like sometimes I hear myself in meetings and I'm like, whoa, you learned a lot in the last year. And so maybe I am the CEO of a,
Are you in a cash raise right now? Are you in a round, or where are you at?
We're almost done.
Oh, what are you calling it? Are we calling it?
It's a convertible round. It's a convertible round. Just
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what, like you mean it's baked? You're about to sign the paperwork next week, or what's
stuff is just coming in. My phone just like wire transfers are happening right now.
Ooh, so wire. Oh, that's the fun part.
Yeah, it's the good part. That's why I was smiling so much. Yeah.
You can't share with us how much you raised? Is that kind of top secret for now?
I don't know if I should, but yeah.
Okay.
It's enough.
Right. What are you going to do with it? Is it sales, marketing? What are you going to use it for?
It's all to fund sales, marketing, new doors. Mostly we have pretty good margins and things like that. So we are really able to operate, our purchase orders and things like that off of revenue. So it's really just cost associated. I want to grow fast. I don't, like, as I said, like I hate when things get to a lull, and grocery is super slow as it is. So I just want to make sure we keep moving. So I don't want to chug along for 10 years opening just like 50 stores a year or something. So it gets expensive to go high growth.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, were you responsible for this cash raise? Or are you the one asking, are you sitting across the table going, please write me a check. Here's why.
That's how I do it. I just go on the phone. I go, hey. So, no, yeah. So it's like usually, yeah, that's been my main job for the past month, so.
Okay. I mean, I can see why you got investors. I mean, cool brand with a super energetic, positive CEO that's super creative, that also now has surrounded herself with an operational person that can balance her. I mean, boom, there you go.
Yeah, when he cuts on the phone, they stop thinking I'm crazy, and they're like, oh, okay, because I'll usually open the conversation and then
very
he'll jump in, and I'm like, okay, so that I'm not going to like.
Was this
lose it with your money?
Was this VC, PE, angels, individuals?
Mostly angels. Some of the angels come from a VC, but they did it as like an angel round because we're just too small right now.
Okay.
So, and the ask was too small for what they'd want to do.
Okay, very good. Well, congratulations on the new cash raise. So on the remote piece, though, yeah, it isn't the culture and the vibe of having people in the room, like that's pretty important, especially for your brand, right?
Yeah, that's definitely something that you have to figure out, like, how do you keep it going, or how do you grow? Because like we're 4 people, so if we did want to add, a social media person and another salesperson, like how do you make sure that they are the right people over Zoom when you're interviewing them? Right. And then how do you make sure you're doing things? And I've seen other companies will do like happy hours or yoga sessions, or they'll bring stuff, have like Zoom kind of parties. So that's definitely going to be a big, trying to figure that out if you stay remote, because it's like, do you want to sign a 12-month lease on a building? I don't know.
I don't know. By the way, the virtual happy hours, I've commented on this on a couple of other episodes. Like, I appreciate the fact that people are trying them, but damn, they're just not the same, man. They're not the same. They're okay.
No. I've had some where like they'll mail everybody like little like drink kit. So everyone's at least like doing the same shared experience, but you can't do them like every week. That would
No, yeah,
not
totally
for a
agree.
year.
Totally agree. So you're about to have a baby. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, April.
April. And now this is the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. My other child just walked in the room now, but
Now, do you know if it's girl or boy?
it's a boy. Yeah.
Did you already pick out a name?
We have a list.
Well, I can only imagine that list of names is probably pretty damn creative. Like, I'm just going to guess his name's not going to be John or,
My dad's name is John, so that rules that one out.
Oh,
So.
okay. Okay. Right. Like,
But yeah, no, there's some like normal one. There's normal names. Not going to be like,
how about like Fabian or something?
oh, yeah, no, we're not going to name them like, there's not going to be like apple or pear or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, is your husband like, is he like super calm and like laid back and like opposite your personality?
He's calm. I don't think anyone would describe him as calm. Maybe it's stoic in a way. Sometimes he's an athlete though, so he can manage excitement well. You know, like
that's why he manages you so well.
Yeah, he says that I'm on a 12 and he needs me at a 10. Sometimes, you know, like I'll be like, oh, like, and I also like my superpower is that I can go to sleep anytime, which hopefully I can maintain into parenthood. But so if there's 20 minutes and there's an opportunity, I could nap and then be up and back going. So sometimes like right before bed, I'll bring up something that's like stressful or exciting. And then I'll be like, oh man, you know, blah, throw the bomb. And then I'll be like, okay, good night. He'll just be like,
oh man.
But yeah,
he's
he's very even.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking about the personality and style of your child and how he's going to come out. I mean, you never know. Like sometimes they take the dad side, sometimes they take the mom side.
Well, I'm scared. Like hearing his childhood boy stories, though. Like he definitely had a exploding things problem.
Oh, okay.
I think all boys do. Like they learn about how to explode things or light things on fire, and then yeah.
So you got a bunch of stuff coming up then, not only a new baby. What's the next big thing for the company? Like what's the next big thing on the calendar? Is it a new flavor? Is it a new, because I know you just put out the new website. What's the next huge thing?
We just launched with a new distributor in a whole bunch of distribution centers. So we're selling into a whole bunch of stores right now. So that started yesterday on the beginning of February. So that's really nerve-wracking, just making sure that, yeah, you got into the stores, but the sell-through is good. And then just trying to figure out, okay, well, it's easy to manage 250 stores, but when it's like 500, like how do you make sure that they're all ordering again? You know, especially like as much as I like love our team, when it's always funny because we're completely competent, but when you go to the people like a brand or you talk to someone, they're like, you don't have food and beverage people in your leadership spots. Like we're all just like figuring it out. Our sales director has a lot of experience, but so he's our guiding light. Okay. But you know, sometimes like Scott and I would be like, how would we track this? I don't know, like this, you know, like cool, you know, and then we'll find someone to ask. And so it's a lot of asking people and other brands, and Boulder's really lucky for that, you know, questions of like, how do you guys manage this? And then a friend will send over like, here's how we keep track. And I'll be like, oh, yes. It's a lot of asking and just for help.
You know, right. I totally agree. Just ask for help. Talk to somebody that can give you some advice. The scariest thing for me sometimes for the brand, I think it affects a lot of other CEOs, is as we get bigger, right? And Riderflex has gotten even bigger this last year as a recruiting firm. And so as we get bigger, we bring on more recruiters, right? And every time we bring on a recruiter, you know, my head is like, okay, you better not mess up the brand. You better not screw up a client. You better not get me a bad review. Like you better freaking take. And so the bigger you get, the more things go into other people's hands, right? And so for me, that sometimes is scary. Like I want the brand to grow, but I also like, okay, I'm handing another thing over to somebody else.
Yeah, that's been, especially with having all the brokers and they're presenting to I don't even know where, and trying to keep track of like, what are you saying when you go in? Like, did I give you the right materials? I'm not there because it used to be me. And now I'm
Exactly.
like, or, you know, even on social media, we'll be posted and it'll be in a state I didn't even know we were in. And I'll just message the person and I'll be like, where'd you buy this? You know, and that's just such a wild thing, and be like, who got it there?
Right.
Why do you have it? Does it taste good still? You know, like, you know, like a little Jewish mother in me, but like, especially when your brand is all about brand and we're not a direct to consumer, because I feel like in that D2C world, you can control that whole circle. You
Right.
can control when they
Right.
order, how they feel when they order it, when they unbox it, and the whole experience. You don't know how you're on shelf at some like podunk town in, you know, somewhere in Pennsylvania, or some organic, you know, food store. Like, did they keep it cold the whole time? I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
And when the buyer went in, what did they say? You know, so luckily, I think coming from advertising our sales materials that when we present to our brokers and our sales teams, everything is hyper branded.
Yeah.
So like and we just are like, print these out. Do you need us to mail you more? So that when they go in, that it closed loop kind of experience is there. But it's scary. I mean, yeah, especially, but you know, having Scott being like, we need to do it like this. You can't just, they'll take care of it, you know, and then staying on me to make sure that I get every single thing completely dialed is great.
Well, I'm super happy for you on everything. You got through COVID and you grew the company. You got through COVID, you raised cash, you brought on a partner,
Got pregnant.
You got pregnant, you're in more stores than you were in, you launched a new website. I mean, congrats, my friend. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it was 2020 was hard, but it was focusing. There wasn't a lot of distraction. So it was good for me.
I mean, if you can grow and build your company through 2020, you can do anything.
I hope. I mean, or we were just so small that it was easy to grow. I always like joke around. I mean, I got to be more positive. I'm very positive, but I'm always like, I'm skeptical. So yeah, but you know, like if you have $1 and then you sell $10, you can say you had like 1,000% increase.
That's right. Oh, Becca, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast.
Thank you for having me back. Yeah, I'm glad things are going well with you too.
It absolutely is. We're having fun building the recruiting firm, and we're like you. We were up about 25% in 2020. Now, I'm not trying to brag, and I feel bad for all the companies that suffered, but yeah, we're kind of like you. And I told Scott, I said, man, if we can be up 25% in 2020, we can do anything, bro. We can do anything.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Becca.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviewing. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get information and pricing on the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.